couple of things. How do I organize, or how do I decide what sales impacts are going to be run, etc.? I use a couple of things. Number one, it's the statistics. So from callback trackers, from daily and weekly goal trackers, I take paperwork and go and have a look at the paperwork, the actual numbers of sales done, how many people were in the field, how many people submitted sales, so what was my scoring ratio, so that's i.e. how many people actually did sales from the group of people that was in the field, what's my piece average, and my first activity in the morning when I get into my office, number one activity after saying good morning to the administrator and having a chat with everybody, my first kind of bit of planning, my first bit of activities, I take the daily sales out, I have a look at what happened yesterday, I have a look at the scoring ratio. Because you're usually in the loop, and hopefully you are too, you will know a lot of these figures, or be very close to them, the day before. So as soon as I get my owner's planner out, which a lot of you guys will probably use as well, I'll or certainly will be very soon if you're going to run your office, or you already are, I go through all my stats and I get all that's my analysis, and then I'm going to base what I'm going to run off that analysis. So that's number one. Is gut feeling, and I look at I look at the atmosphere in my office. I look at are the guys fresh, are they tired, and that may dictate what type of a sales impact I run, or the tone that I run it in. I'm going to look at I'm going to ask some new people, I'm going to find out what the new people are going, I'm going to find out what's going on in the field. I'm going to go to the field. If you're field based, great, you'll know what's going on. Don't get wrapped up in your own world. Make sure you're keeping your eyes open, see what's happening. And if you want to get great sales impacts going, go out and watch the field yourself. It's all well and good what you say in the office. You may have a vision of what the guys are doing in the field, but actually when you get to the field, you can find it's very different to what you've coached and developed people on. That message is watered down, or being ignored for whatever reason, or just purely people have forgotten some of the basics. So I guess that's the two things that I kind of base my daily sales impact on. Making sure that the second part of this topic is making sure that the message that you're going to deliver in a sales impact, can it improve the sales average? What is the one thing that's going to help sales improve from yesterday? What's the main thing? So for me, I use all the stats, I use my gut feeling, and then I got to think, right, I'm talking to a generic group, what is going to help raise that average? And when you do figure out what that is from the stats, you've got to deliver the impact really well. You've got to make it short and simple. You've got to make sure that people can understand it. So I don't, if you run off the cuff sales impacts, I think you're going to get off the cuff results. So you're going to have very inconsistent sales. And when you've got consistent sales, more often than not, that's coming from consistent mechanical sales coaching. And I think your daily sales impact, is vitally important. I want to talk about motivation for a second, and I think a classic error, and I've certainly made this error many occasions, I thought that by motivating my sales force or motivating the guys, that can simply do more sales if the guys are more motivated. You can have the most motivated team in the world, but if they haven't got the mechanical skills or the tools to do the job, and I think that probably goes for any industry, you're not going to get the results you want. So give your people the tools, give them the right hook lines, give them the right structure, give them the right, mentality impacts, give them the right understanding, give them simple systems to copy. Personally, running my business, I'm a very systems-based person. It makes you easy to replicate, and it means that you can recruit and coach people en masse as opposed to having a very small, stylized sales team. I like the idea of being able to recruit people from varying different backgrounds and varying different levels of experience and confidence, show them a simple system, and I guess that's why we're so successful globally as well, because of that system. Don't forget that when you're running a sales impact on a daily basis. And I think the motivational part of your meetings or the motivational part of what you're doing every week is very important. If your guys have great sales skills, they may not be overly motivated that day. I think they're going to produce more sales if their mechanical skills are better. And of course you need drive and determination, but you need a balance of both. So I think that's incredibly important. Next thing I've got for you is, typically in offices anywhere, if there's problems in an office or if an office is not growing, 99 times out of 100, it's because of low sales in my experience. So how do you negate that effect? And if you go and look at all the top offices, there's probably a common theme running through. They'll have consistently good sales averages, they'll have great sales quality too. So there'll be a combination of those factors happen. When sales are good, earnings are good, the owner is making money, most importantly the guys are profitable, and when the guys are profitable, they're confident they'll take on more, more stuff. So again, let me take it back to that motivation point. If it's all motivation, but the guys are not succeeding on a day-to-day basis or feel confident about going into the field, that's where you're going to come into problems. So I think, the more effort and time you put into planning your daily sales impacts, and again, the topic is daily sales impacts, that you need to run them daily. You got to do it, and again, very similarly, you can pull out off the cuff, kind of sales impacts and kind of pick one out of your folder. This one, again, you've got to go to the source, you've got to go to the field, you've got to get your callback trackers, you've got to get your stats, and then again, use your gut feeling and stuff. If you feel that the guys need to get a lift, well then, it's a bit more of an upbeat one. If you think it needs a role play, it needs a role play. So I put some basic daily sales impacts down that I would run typically to increase sales. Number one is hook lines. Have the guys got the right, impulsive lines to use in the field that customers are going to be interested in. I'll run meetings on buying signs. If the guys have the right tools but they're not spotting when customers are ready to buy, buying signs again reminds the guys of what to look for and can lift sales. Breaking down your day, incredibly basic and simple. The most important impact in sales is breaking down your day, having the right mentality, hour by hour breaking your day into bite-sized chunks and making it easier, and building and developing that mental muscle. Your daily sales impact can do that for your office, and simply by that, a 15-minute impact on breaking your day down can often lift averages. Law of averages, how many people we're speaking to in the field, exposing the product to the client, or the client to the customers to the client's product, should I say. Closing, very simply, sales can sometimes be low, everything is perfect, contacts are good, the guys are motivated and doing everything well, but when they're getting to the close, they're not closing, so closing impacts are very, very important. Sometimes role playing a sale from start to finish, can just be a reminder and a refresher of seeing a whole sales process. If guys are not, if guys are not on point, or there's not a massive amount of sales being done, that's a massive one. Role playing introductions, role playing presentation, role playing short story, role playing handling objections, and making it a live coaching environment, and making a phrase you'll hear quite a lot is deliberate practice. I think that's your daily sales impacts. The information needs to be well delivered. What can often help is then having some role play attached or bolted onto that sales impact, so the guys have got a bit of practice before they've got out to the field. Of course, you'll typically have that in the prime time, but you can also add some of that into your daily sales impacts too, to give them a bit more bite, a bit more punch, and a bit more. I guess you want the sales impact to stick in the memory of your guys. So when they actually get to the field and they've got off the bus or out of the car, and they've dusted themselves off and they're ready for the day, when they go into the field, they're reminding themselves of what's been coached in that morning, which can then increase the results. And when it's 5 o'clock and they're not on a result, that they still remember that daily sales impact. And if you've done your prep work and your homework and you've delivered it well and it's been interactive, I think you're far more likely for the person to remember that. They're far more likely to get a better result from that coach. And I think the final thing with daily sales impacts, it's quite a simple thing. If you're watching this video, you're probably an expert at it now. But the biggest key for me is plan, prep it, and then deliver it really well. Then the most important thing is following through, and this, I guess, is a great way to wrap it up. it's that following up and that following through is most important. So when the guys are back from the field that evening, find your success stories. Maybe you've got whatever group text or different stuff going, or different ways that the guys feeding in sales information to you. You find who succeeded from, as a direct effect from that impact, or from that daily sales impact that you ran that day. And then you want to take your examples, the guys that have improved, promote that stuff in your prime time in the evening. And then the following morning, this is most important, I will then take the examples, I'll get them up at the front of the room to coach the rest of the guys through on what worked for them the day before. And two things that does. Number one, it shows that the sales impacts are really effective, and that by listening to the information, that the guys can increase their sales, which will give everyone more buy-in to what you're coaching and developing. But also it teaches people that, and this is the most important thing for me, is without applying the information, because invariably, it might be 20-30% of your office actually really takes that stuff on board, and the sales go up because of the impact. But everybody won't take it on board, and you're never going to have a situation where absolutely everybody applies everything. It just doesn't work that way. But if you can develop that culture where guys understand that by applying the information, the results increase, you'll find that you'll have a much better culture within your office, and your sales impacts will have a greater impact on your sales and your bottom line on a week-to-week basis. Plus, by developing those skills, I think the extra benefit is, as you are coaching people who can run offices in the future, they too will have that same DNA, and they'll have the same prep and planning towards their daily sales. So that concludes daily sales impacts. Hopefully it was helpful, and thanks for watching.